My name is Isabel Blackwood, and this is the story of how I traded one cage for another and found freedom in the most unexpected place, in the arms of the most dangerous man I'd ever met. The ballroom glittered like a jewel box, all crystal chandeliers and champagne flutes catching the light. I stood at the edge of the dance floor in a gown that cost more than most people earned in a year, smiling until my cheeks ached. No one could see the bruises. That was the whole point, really. The layers of foundation, the strategic placement of my hair, the way I angled my face just so when the photographers approached. I'd become an expert at hiding the evidence of my marriage. Isabel. My husband's voice came from behind me, low and controlled. To anyone else it would sound affectionate. I knew better. Stop sulking in corners. We have appearances to maintain. I turned to face Lord William Blackwood, all aristocratic features and cold blue eyes. He looked perfect in his tailored tuxedo. Every inch the distinguished gentleman. No one would ever suspect what happened behind closed doors. Of course, darling. I kept my voice light, pleasant. Exactly what he expected. His fingers closed around my elbow, tight enough to hurt but not enough to leave marks where they'd show. He'd learned where to place his hands over the years. The Harringtons are here. You will charm Lord Harrington. We need his vote on the construction contract. I nodded, already moving in the direction he steered me. This was my life now. Had been since I was 18, and my family sold me to the highest bidder. Marriage, they called it. A beneficial arrangement between two prestigious families. I called it slavery with a wedding ring. The evening dragged on in a blur of false smiles and hollow conversations. I played my part perfectly. The devoted wife, the gracious lady, the ornament on William's arm. No one looked close enough to see the cracks in the facade. Until him. I felt his gaze before I saw him. It was like a physical touch, raising goosebumps along my bare shoulders. I turned, scanning the crowd, and found him watching me from across the room. He was tall, dark-haired, with a presence that seemed to command the space around him. Unlike the other men in their expensive suits, there was something raw about him, something untamed beneath the polish. His eyes, dark and intense, met mine, and for a moment, the crowded ballroom fell away. I looked away first, my heart hammering. Who was he? That's Damian Grayson, Lady Harrington whispered beside me, following my gaze. New money, import-export business, though there are rumors. What kind of rumors? I asked, trying to sound casual. She leaned closer, her perfume overwhelming. Connections to less savory enterprises, but he's terribly wealthy, so of course everyone overlooks it. He just returned from America, I hear. Before I could respond, William appeared at my side, his hand clamping down, on my waist. Time to leave. But the evening isn't now. His fingers dug into my side, just above my ribcage where no one could see. The threat was clear. I excused myself from Lady Harrington and followed William toward the exit, my pulse racing for all the wrong reasons. But as we passed through the crowd, I felt that gaze again. I couldn't help it. I glanced back. Damian Grayson was still watching me. And this time, I saw something in his eyes that made my breath catch. Recognition. Not of who I was, but of what I was hiding. He saw me. Really saw me. And that terrified me more than anything William had ever done. The car ride home was silent. William sat beside me, scrolling through his phone, his jaw tight with barely contained anger. I knew that look, knew what was coming. I should have been more careful, should have smiled more, laughed at Lord Harrington's terrible jokes, been more attentive. I'd failed somehow, and now I would pay for it. The mansion loomed ahead, all Victorian Gothic architecture and manicured grounds, my prison, dressed up as a palace. William dismissed the driver and grabbed my arm the moment we were inside, dragging me through the foyer and up the grand staircase. My heels caught on the carpeted steps, but his grip never loosened. "William, please." "Shut up." He shoved me through the bedroom door, slamming it behind us. "Do you have any idea how you embarrassed me tonight?" I backed away, my hands raised. "I don't understand." "I did everything you asked." "You were staring at Damian Grayson like a lovesick fool." His voice rose, echoing off the high ceilings. "Everyone saw you. The Harringtons, the Pembertons, everyone." I wasn't. I barely looked at him. The slap came fast, snapping my head to the side. Pain exploded across my cheek, sharp and hot. I stumbled, catching myself on the edge of the vanity. "Don't lie to me, Isabel." William advanced, his face twisted with rage. "You're my wife. Mine. And you will show me the respect I deserve." He hit me again, harder this time. I fell to my knees, tasting blood. The room spun, my ears ringing. "Get up." He grabbed a fistful of my hair, yanking me upright. "Look at me when I'm speaking to you." I forced myself to meet his eyes, knowing resistance would only make it worse. This was the real William Blackwood. Not the charming lord the world saw, but the monster I'd married. He shoved me away, and I collapsed onto the floor, my body curling instinctively into a protective position. I heard him pacing, heard the clink of his belt buckle. "You're pathetic," he spat. "Your family was nothing before you married me. Nothing. And this is how you repay me? By humiliating me in public?" I didn't respond. Had learned long ago that anything I said would only fuel his rage. Better to stay silent, to wait for the storm to pass. Eventually, it did. William left, slamming the bedroom door behind him. I heard the lock click from the saw. Outside, I lay on the floor for a long time, waiting for the pain to subside. The right side of my face was already swelling, I could feel it. Tomorrow, there would be bruises. More makeup to hide, more lies to tell. But something was different this time. As I finally pulled myself up and stumbled to the bathroom, I caught sight of my reflection in the mirror. One eye was already darkening, my lips split and bleeding. And all I could think about was the way Damian Grayson had looked at me. Like he knew. Like he understood. The thought should have frightened me. Instead, for the first time in years, I felt something else. Hope. 2 weeks passed before I saw Damian again. 2 weeks of carefully applied makeup and practiced smiles, of playing the perfect wife while my bruises faded from purple to yellow to finally nothing at all. William kept me on a shorter leash after that night. More control, more restrictions. I wasn't allowed to leave the house without his permission, couldn't attend social functions unless he was by my side. The cage had grown smaller, but he couldn't control the charity gala at the Harrington estate. It was too important. Too many influential people would be there. So he brought me, with strict instructions on how to behave. I wore a high-necked gown in deep emerald that covered the fading marks on my collarbone. My makeup was flawless, my smile firmly in place. To the world, I was the picture of elegance. Inside, I was screaming. The gala was held in the Harrington's sprawling gardens, lit by thousands of fairy lights strung through the trees. It was beautiful, magical even. I stood at the edge of the crowd, champagne in hand, watching couples dance beneath the stars. "You don't look like you're enjoying yourself." The voice came from behind me, deep, smooth, with an edge that sent shivers down my spine. I turned to find Damian Grayson standing there, 2 glasses of champagne in his hands. Up close, he was even more devastating. Tall and broad-shouldered, with dark hair that fell just slightly over his forehead, and eyes so dark they were almost black. There was a scar along his jawline, barely visible, that only added to the dangerous appeal. My voice caught. "I'm perfectly fine, thank you." He tilted his head, studying me with an intensity that made me feel naked despite my elaborate gown. Liar. The word was soft, almost gentle. It shouldn't have affected me the way it did. Excuse me? You're not fine. You haven't been fine for a long time. He offered me one of the champagne glasses. I'm Damian Grayson. I know who you are. I didn't take the glass. And I'm married, Mr. Grayson. I know who you are too, Lady Blackwood. His lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. And I know your husband is currently occupied with the card game inside. You have approximately 15 minutes before he'll notice you're missing. My heart hammered. How do you? I make it my business to know things. He set the extra champagne glass on a nearby table and stepped closer. Especially about people who interest me. I should have walked away. Should have found William. Stayed safe in my carefully constructed prison. Instead, I found myself asking, why do I interest you? Because you're dying in there. His voice dropped lower, for my ears only. I can see it. The way you smile when you don't mean it. The way you flinch when someone moves too quickly. The way you angle your face to hide the places where makeup is just a little too thick. My breath caught. He did see me. Really saw me. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. His hand came up, not touching me, but close enough that I could feel the heat of his skin. And when you're ready to stop pretending, when you're ready to leave that cage you're living in, you call me. He pressed a card into my palm, his fingers brushing mine for just a second. The contact was electric, sending heat racing up my arm. I can't, I whispered, even as my fingers closed around the card. You don't understand. I understand more than you think. His eyes held mine, and I saw something there. Not pity, but recognition. As if he knew what it was like to be trapped, to feel powerless. He's going to kill you eventually, Isabel. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow. But men like William Blackwood don't stop. They only escalate. The truth of his words hit me like a physical blow. I'd known it, somewhere deep down. Had felt it in the increasing frequency of William's rages, the growing violence. Why do you care? I asked, my voice breaking. Damian's expression softened just slightly. Because no one should have to live like that. And because... He paused, something flickering in his dark eyes. Because I know what it's like to feel powerless. Before I could respond, I heard William's voice calling for me. Damian stepped back smoothly, the distance between us suddenly professional. Think about it, he said quietly. When you're ready. Then he was gone, disappearing into the crowd like a shadow. I stood there, clutching his card in my hand, my heart racing. William found me moments later, his grip on my arm just tight enough to hurt. Who were you talking to? No one, I lied, slipping the card into the hidden pocket of my gown. Just admiring the gardens. He pulled me closer, his breath hot against my ear. You're lying. I saw you with Grayson. My blood turned to ice. He introduced himself. It was nothing. Just pleasantries. William's fingers dug into my arm hard enough to bruise. If I ever see you speaking to him again, Isabel, you'll regret it. Do you understand? I nodded, unable to speak past the fear lodging in my throat. Good. He released me, his expression smoothing into a pleasant smile as another couple approached. Now smile. We have appearances to maintain. I smiled, played my part. But in my pocket, I could feel the weight of Damian's card, a lifeline, a way out. The question was, did I have the courage to use it? The answer came 3 nights later. William came home drunk, which was never a good sign. I heard him stumbling through the house, slamming doors, his voice raised in anger at the servants. I locked myself in the bedroom, praying he would pass out before he remembered I existed. But God wasn't listening that night. The bedroom door burst open, the lock splintering under William's shoulder. He stood in the doorway, swaying slightly, his eyes bloodshot and filled with rage. "You think you can hide from me?" His words slurred together. "In my own house? William, please. You're drunk. Let's talk in the morning." He crossed the room in 3 strides, his hand wrapping around my throat. I gasped, clawing at his fingers as he lifted me onto my toes. "I saw you." Spittle flew from his lips. "At the gala, the way you looked at him. Like a whore." I wasn't. The words came out strangled. He threw me onto the bed and I scrambled backward, but there was nowhere to go. He was on me in seconds, his weight pinning me down, his hand still at my throat. "You're mine," he hissed. "Mine. And I'll kill you before I let another man have you." I couldn't breathe. Black spots danced at the edges of my vision. This was it. This was how I died. At the hands of my husband in the bedroom we shared, where no one would hear me scream. But then something in me snapped. Maybe it was the oxygen deprivation. Maybe it was the memory of Damien's words. "He's going to kill you eventually." But suddenly, I wasn't willing to die like this. I brought my knee up hard, connecting with William's groin. He howled, his grip loosening just enough for me to gulp air. I shoved him, harder than I'd ever dared before, and ran. I didn't think, didn't grab anything. Just ran. Down the stairs, through the foyer, out the front door in nothing but my nightgown and bare feet. Behind me, I heard William roaring, heard him coming after me. I ran until my lungs burned, until my feet bled on the cobblestones, until I couldn't hear him anymore. Then I collapsed in an alley between 2 buildings, gasping for air, my whole body shaking. That's when I remembered the card. Damien had said to call when I was ready. I wasn't sure I was ready, wasn't sure of anything except that I couldn't go back to that house. Couldn't face William again. With trembling fingers, I pulled my phone from the pocket of my nightgown. Thank God I'd had the presence of mind to grab it, and dialed the number on Damien's card. It rang once, twice. What if he didn't answer? What if this was all some sick game? "Isabel." His voice came through the line, alert despite the late hour. "Where are you?" My voice broke. "I don't know." I ran. He tried to. "William, Are you hurt?" The question was sharp, commanding. "I don't know. I can't think. I need. Listen to me." His voice cut through my panic like a knife. "I need you to breathe. Can you do that?" I tried, sucking in air through my bruised throat. "Good. Now look around. Tell me what you see." I forced myself to focus. Buildings. Red brick. There's a bakery across the street. Closed. And a lamppost with a broken light. "What's the bakery called?" I squinted at the faded sign. "Rosewood Bakery." "I know where you are. Stay exactly where you are. Don't move. I'll be there in 20 minutes. 20 minutes? My voice rose in panic. What if William finds me? He won't. But Isabel, if he does, you run. Do you understand? You run and you call the police. I can't. My family. The scandal. Your family sold you to a man who just tried to kill you." His voice was hard now, uncompromising. "Fuck the scandal. Fuck your family. Your life matters more than their reputation. Do you understand?" I nodded, then realized he couldn't see me. "Yes." "Good. 20 minutes. Stay on the line with me." So I did. I huddled in that alley, bleeding and terrified, while Damien Grayson talked to me. He didn't ask questions, didn't push for details. Just talked. About nothing and everything. His voice became an anchor, keeping me from spiraling into complete panic. True to his word, exactly 19 minutes later, a sleek black car pulled up at the mouth of the alley. Damien stepped out, and I'd never been so grateful to see another human being in my life. He took one look at me, barefoot, bleeding, bruises already forming on my throat, and something dark and dangerous crossed his face. "Come here," he said softly. I stumbled toward him, and he caught me before I fell. His arms came around me, strong and steady, and for the first time in years I felt safe. "I've got you," he murmured against my hair. "You're safe now. I promise." And despite everything, despite barely knowing him, despite the rumors, despite the fact that I was trading one dangerous man for another, I believed him. Damien's penthouse was nothing like William's mansion. Where William surrounded himself with cold marble and pretentious art, Damien's space was warm, all dark wood, leather furniture, and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. He guided me to a bathroom larger than my childhood bedroom, then disappeared. I stood in front of the mirror, barely recognizing the woman staring back at me. My throat was ringed with purple bruises in the shape of William's fingers. My nightgown was torn and bloody from my flight through the streets. I looked like a victim. I suppose that's what I was. A soft knock on the door made me jump. "It's me," Damien said. "I have clothes and a first aid kit. Can I come in?" I should have said no. Should have maintained some semblance of propriety. But propriety was a luxury I could no longer afford. "Yes." He entered carrying a stack of clothes, soft sweatpants and a t-shirt, and a white medical kit. His eyes swept over me, cataloging my injuries with a clinical efficiency that somehow made me feel less exposed. "Sit," he said, gesturing to the edge of the bathtub. I obeyed, too exhausted to argue. He knelt in front of me, opening the medical kit. "This is going to sting," he warned before cleaning the cuts on my feet with antiseptic. I hissed at the burn, and his hand automatically went to my knee, a gesture of comfort. "Why are you helping me?" I asked quietly. He didn't look up from bandaging my foot. "Why wouldn't I? You don't know me." "I know enough." He moved to my other foot, his touch surprisingly gentle for someone with such calloused hands. "I know your husband is a monster. I know you deserve better." "The rumors about you," I said. "Are they true? The connections to less legal enterprises?" His hands stilled. Then he looked up at me, his dark eyes meeting mine. "Yes." The honesty shocked me. Most men would have lied, would have tried to maintain the facade. But not Damien. "I'm not a good man, Isabel," he continued. "I've done things I'm not proud of. Hurt people who got in my way. Built an empire on blood and fear." He paused. "But I've never raised my hand to a woman. Never used my strength to terrorize someone weaker than me. So yes, I'm dangerous. But not to you. Never to you." I believed him. Maybe I was a fool. Maybe I was just desperate. But looking into his eyes, I believed every word. "What happens now?" I asked. "Now you rest. Tomorrow we figure out next steps." He stood, offering me his hand. "But Isabel, you're not going back to him. That's non-negotiable. He'll look for me. My family will. Let them look." Something hard and dangerous glinted in his eyes. "They won't find you unless you want to be found." After he left me to change, I stood under the shower spray until the water ran cold, washing away the blood and fear. The clothes he'd given me smelled like him. Cedar and leather and something uniquely male. I found myself breathing it in, letting it ground me. When I emerged, I found Damien in the kitchen, making tea. He'd rolled up his sleeves, revealing forearms marked with scars and what looked like the edge of a tattoo. "Chamomile," he said, setting a cup in front of me. "It'll help you sleep." I wrapped my hands around the warm cup. "I don't think I can sleep." "Then we'll stay up." He leaned against the counter across from me. "Talk to me, Isabel. Tell me how this happened. How someone like you ended up with someone like him." So I did. Maybe it was the exhaustion, maybe it was the relief of finally being safe, but the words poured out of me. I told him about my family's financial troubles, about how they'd arranged my marriage to William to settle their debts, about the wedding where I'd been 18 and terrified, and the wedding night that had shown me exactly what kind of man I'd married. I told him about the years of abuse, the careful concealment, the slow erosion of everything I'd once been, about how I'd become a ghost in my own life, going through the motions while dying inside. Damien listened without interruption, his jaw growing tighter with each revelation. When I finally fell silent, he crossed to me and did something unexpected. He took my hands in his. "I'm going to ask you something, and I need you to be honest," he said quietly. "Do you want to go back? To try to make it work? To fix things with William?" "No." The answer came instantly from somewhere deep in my soul. "Never." "Then you won't." His thumbs brushed over my knuckles. "I can protect you, Isabel. I can make sure William never touches you again. But I need you to trust me. I don't even know you." "No. But you know your husband. And you know which of us is more likely to keep you alive." He had a point. A brutal, honest point. "What do you want in return?" I asked, because men like Damien didn't help out of the goodness of their hearts. There was always a cost. Something flickered in his eyes. Surprise, maybe, or respect. "Right now, just your trust. Tomorrow, we'll figure it out together." It wasn't a real answer, but it was honest. More honest than anything William had ever said to me. "Okay," I whispered. "I trust you." The words should have felt like a betrayal. Instead, they felt like freedom. I stayed with Damien for 3 days before anyone came looking for me. 3 days of slowly remembering what it felt like to breathe without fear, to move without flinching. Damien gave me space but was always nearby. He worked from home, conducting business calls in his study while I explored his apartment like a caged bird finally set free. The bruises on my throat faded from purple to yellow, and the cuts on my feet healed. But the damage to my soul would take longer. On the 3rd night, I couldn't sleep. The penthouse was quiet except for the distant hum of the city below. I found myself wandering out to the balcony, drawn by the lights of London spread out like stars. "Can't sleep?" Damien's voice came from behind me. I turned to find him leaning against the doorframe, dressed in just sweatpants, his chest bare. In the moonlight, I could see the full extent of his tattoos, intricate designs that covered his left shoulder and arm, disappearing down his ribs. "Too many thoughts," I admitted. He moved to stand beside me at the railing, close but not touching. We stood in silence for a moment, watching the city breathe. "What are the tattoos?" I asked softly. He glanced down at his arm. "Reminders of where I came from, who I was, who I don't want to be again." "Will you tell me about them?" "Someday." He turned to look at me, his dark eyes unreadable. "When you're ready to hear it." "And when will that be?" "When you stop looking at me like I'm going to hurt you." His words stung because they were true. Despite everything, despite his gentleness, part of me was still waiting for the other shoe to drop. Still expecting him to reveal himself as another monster in beautiful packaging. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "Don't be." His hand came up, hovering near my face but not quite touching. "You've earned your fear. I want to be someone you don't have to be afraid of." The vulnerability in his voice undid something in me. This dangerous man, this criminal who'd built an empire on violence, was trying to be gentle for me. "I'm not afraid of you," I said, surprised to find it was true. "I'm afraid of myself, of what it means that I'm here with you, that I feel safer with a man I barely know than with my own husband. It means you're smart enough to recognize the difference between danger and safety. William was dangerous because he was cruel. I'm dangerous because I'm capable. There's a difference. He was right. William's violence was random, unpredictable, meant to terrorize and control. But Damien's violence, whatever form it took, would be purposeful, precise, a weapon wielded with intention, not rage. "Thank you," I said, "for saving me, for not asking questions, for just being here." "Isabel," he stopped, seeming to struggle with something. "I need you to know something. When you're ready to leave, when you want to go start your life somewhere else, I'll help you. I'll give you money, resources, whatever you need. You're not trapped here. You're not trapped with me." The offer should have been a relief. Instead, it felt like a loss. What if I don't want to leave? The words came out before I could stop them. His eyes darkened. "Don't say things you don't mean." "I mean it." I turned to face him fully. These past 3 days have been the first time in years I've felt like myself, like I could breathe. I don't want to give that up. "Isabel, you're vulnerable right now. You're confusing safety with what?" I challenged. "With attraction? With desire?" I took a step closer. "I'm not confused, Damien. I know exactly what I'm feeling." "You don't know what you're asking for. Then show me." For a moment we stood frozen, the air between us crackling with tension. Then Damien moved, his hand finally making contact, cupping my face with a gentleness that made my breath catch. "If I kiss you," he said, his voice rough, "there's no going back. You understand that? You won't be William's wife anymore. You'll be mine." The possessiveness in his words should have scared me. Instead, it sent heat pooling low in my belly. "I stopped being William's wife the moment I called you," I whispered. "I'm already yours." He groaned, a sound of surrender, and then his lips were on mine. The kiss was nothing like the perfunctory pecks William had occasionally bestowed. This was consuming, devastating, a brand that marked me as irrevocably changed. Damien kissed me like I was air and he was drowning, like I was the first and last thing he'd ever want. His other hand came to my waist, pulling me flush against him, and I went, willingly, my hands sliding up his bare chest to tangle in his hair. He was all hard muscle and controlled strength, and I felt delicate in his arms, but not fragile, treasured. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against mine. "You have no idea what you do to me," he murmured. "Show me," I said again, and he did. In the morning, reality crashed back in. I woke in Damien's bed, our bed now, I supposed, wrapped in sheets that smelled like him, my body deliciously sore in ways that had nothing to do with violence and everything to do with pleasure. Damien was already awake, propped against the headboard with his laptop, conducting business like he hadn't spent the night showing me exactly how gentle, dangerous hands could be. "Good morning," he said, setting the laptop aside. His eyes swept over me, and I saw satisfaction there, possessiveness. "How do you feel?" "Different," I admitted, pulling the sheet up. "Good different, but what happens now?" His expression sobered. "Now we deal with the reality of your situation. William will be looking for you. Your family will be pressuring you to return. We need to get ahead of this. I can't divorce him." The words tasted bitter. "My family's debts are tied to the marriage contract. If I leave, if I file for divorce, they lose everything." "Then we don't divorce him." Damien's voice was cold, calculated. "We disappear." I stared at him. "What?" "You heard me. We leave England, start over somewhere else. America, maybe. I have connections there, resources. William can't control what he can't find." "You would do that? Leave everything behind?" He reached out, tucking a strand of hair behind my ear. "I told you, Isabel. I'm done with this world anyway. I've made my money. established my empire. The only thing keeping me here was inertia. But you? His thumb brushed my lower lip. You're a reason to leave. A reason to start over. Be someone better. What about your business? Your connections? I'll transfer control to my second. He's been wanting to take over for years anyway. Damien's expression hardened. The life I've been living, it's not one I want anymore. I'm tired of the violence, the constant watching my back. I'm tired of being what this world made me. I understood that feeling more than he knew. When would we leave? As soon as possible. 2 weeks, maybe 3. I need to arrange documentation, liquidate certain assets, set up accounts in the States. William will try to stop us. William won't know until we're gone. His eyes met mine, fierce and protective. I promise you, Isabel, I won't let him hurt you again. Not ever. I believed him. Maybe I was a fool, but I believed every word. Over the next 2 weeks, I watched Damien dismantle his entire life with the precision of a man who'd built empires. He arranged false documents, booked passage on a ship to New York, transferred millions to untraceable accounts. And through it all, we fell deeper into whatever this thing between us was. It was more than just physical, though God knew the chemistry between us was explosive. It was understanding, companionship, a meeting of two souls who'd been caged for too long. I learned about his past, how he'd grown up in poverty, how his younger brother had died in a gang fight when Damien was 20, how that death had driven him to build his empire, to become so powerful that no one could hurt him or those he loved again. I failed him, Damien told me one night as we lay tangled together. My brother. I wasn't strong enough, wasn't ruthless enough. By the time I was, it was too late. That wasn't your fault, I said softly, tracing the tattoo on his chest, a name, Marcus, over his heart. Wasn't it? I was supposed to protect him. That's what big brothers do. His arms tightened around me. But I won't fail you, Isabel, I swear it. I know. And I did. Whatever demons Damien carried, whatever darkness lurked in his past, I trusted him with my life, with my heart. 3 days before we were set to leave, William finally made his move. Damien and I were in the penthouse when his phone rang. He checked the caller ID and his expression darkened. It's my second. Something's wrong. He answered. Talk to me. I watched as his jaw tightened, watched the fury build in his eyes. When? A pause. How many? Another pause. Understood. Activate Protocol 7. He hung up, and when he looked at me, I saw something I'd never seen before. Fear. We need to leave. Now. What's happened? William knows where you are. He's coming here with private security. We have maybe an hour. My blood turned to ice. How did he find me? Does it matter? Damien was already moving, pulling out a go bag from his closet. Get dressed. Warm clothes, comfortable shoes. Bring nothing that can be traced. I stumbled into motion, terror and adrenaline flooding my system. This was it. This was the moment we'd been preparing for. We were on the run. We made it out of the penthouse with 20 minutes to spare. Damien had routes planned, backup plans for the backup plans. We took a service elevator to the basement parking, where an unmarked car waited. Where are we going? I asked as he peeled out onto the street. The docks. Our ship leaves at midnight. We just need to stay hidden until then. But William had resources too. As we navigated through London's streets, I saw the first signs of pursuit. Black SUVs with tinted windows, moving too deliberately to be coincidence. They're behind us, I whispered. I see them. Damien's hands were steady on the wheel, but I could see the tension in his shoulders. Hold on. What followed was the most terrifying hour of my life. Damien drove like a man possessed, weaving through traffic, taking turns at speeds that made my stomach lurch. Behind us, William's security kept pace, We finally lost them in the maze of East End streets. But Damien didn't slow down. We can't risk going to the docks now, they'll have people watching. Then what do? He pulled into an alley, killing the engine. We wait until dark, then we make a run for it on foot. It's risky, but it's our best shot. We huddled in that car for hours as the sun set, waiting. Damien made calls, arranged for alternate transportation, backup routes, but I could see the worry in his eyes. "We're going to make it," I said, taking his hand. "We have to." He brought my hand to his lips. "I won't let him take you back, Isabel. I'd die first." "Don't say that." "I mean it." His eyes were fierce. "You're the first good thing I've had in my life in years. I'm not giving that up without a fight." When full darkness fell, we moved. Damien led me through back alleys and side streets, always watching, always alert. The docks loomed ahead, our ship waiting like a promise of freedom. We were so close. Just a few more blocks. That's when they found us. William's security appeared from nowhere, 6 men, armed and ready. But it was William himself who stepped forward, and the look on his face made my blood run cold. "Hello, wife," he said, his voice dripping venom. "Did you really think you could run from me?" Damien stepped in front of me, his body a shield. "She's not going back with you, Blackwood." William laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "You think you can keep her from me? You think your money and your reputation mean anything to me? She's my wife, my property." "I'm not property," I said, surprising myself with the strength in my voice. "I'm not yours anymore, William. I'm done." His face twisted with rage. "You ungrateful bitch. After everything I gave you, everything I gave me?" I stepped around Damien, years of suppressed rage finally finding voice. "You gave me bruises and fear. You gave me a prison dressed up as a palace. You gave me nothing but pain." William moved toward me, but Damien blocked him, and suddenly there were fists flying. Damien fought like a man with everything to lose, taking on 2 of the security guards at once, but they had numbers on their side. I watched in horror as they overwhelmed him, as William pulled a gun from his jacket and pointed it at Damien's head. "No!" I screamed, throwing myself between them. Everything froze. The world narrowed to the barrel of that gun, pointed now at my chest instead of Damien's head. "Move, Isabel," William ordered, "or I'll shoot through you to get to him." "Then shoot me." The words came out steady. "Sure. Because I'm not moving. I'm not going back with you. I'd rather die free than live as your prisoner one more day." Something flickered in William's eyes. Shock, maybe, or the realization that he'd finally, truly lost me. His finger tightened on the trigger, but the shot never came. Instead, police sirens wailed, growing louder. Blue lights flooded the alley as multiple squad cars screeched to a halt. "Armed police, drop your weapons!" William hesitated, caught between rage and self-preservation. His security guards dropped their weapons immediately, hands raised. After a moment, William did the same, the gun clattering to the pavement. Damien pulled me close as the police secured the scene. "I called them before we left the car," he murmured, told them about William's illegal weapons, his tax evasion, some other indiscretions I happened to have documentation for. I should have been shocked. Instead, I felt nothing but relief as William was led away in handcuffs, still spitting threats and curses. "You can't do this," he screamed. "She's my wife, my property." But the police weren't listening, and neither was I. We gave our statements, carefully edited versions of the truth that painted William as the aggressor and us as victims of his obsession. Damien's lawyers appeared within the hour, smooth and efficient. By dawn, we were free to go. The ship had already sailed, but Damien arranged for a private flight instead. "Ready?" he asked as we stood on the tarmac watching the sun rise. I looked back at London, at the life I was leaving behind. the cage I'd finally escaped. "Ready," I said, and hand in hand we walked toward our freedom. New York was a revelation. Where London had been all history and propriety, New York was energy and possibility. We arrived with new names, new documents, new lives waiting to be built. Damien had arranged everything: an apartment overlooking Central Park, bank accounts, even a cover story for how we knew each other. To the world, we were Daniel and Isabel Green, a married couple relocating from California. No one knew who we'd really been, who we'd left behind. The first few weeks were a blur of adjustment. I'd never been to America, had never experienced this level of freedom. No one knew me here. No one expected me to be anyone but myself. "What do you want to do?" Damien asked one morning over breakfast. "You can be anyone, do anything." "What does Isabel Blackwood, sorry, Isabel Green, want to be?" I thought about it, really thought about it for the first time in years. "I want to help people, women like me, who are trapped. I want to give them the escape I got." His eyes softened. "Then that's what you'll do. I'll fund it, you run it. A sanctuary for women fleeing abuse." "Damien, I can't ask you to." "You're not asking. I'm offering." He took my hand across the table. "I have more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. Let me use it for something good. Let me help you help them." And so we built it together. A shelter that provided not just housing but legal aid, job training, therapy. We called it Hope House, and within 6 months, we were helping dozens of women start over. I'd found my purpose, and with Damien by my side, I'd found my peace. We settled into a life that felt impossibly normal after everything we'd been through. Quiet mornings, lazy Sundays, dinners cooked together in our kitchen. It wasn't the glamorous life I'd lived as Lady Blackwood, but it was real. It was mine. Our relationship deepened too. Damien was nothing like William. Where William had been cold and controlling, Damien was warm and supportive. He encouraged me to grow, to find myself, to become the woman I'd been before trauma had stripped her away. And I watched him transform too. Away from the violence and paranoia of his old life, Damien softened. He smiled more, laughed easier. The shadows that had haunted his eyes began to fade. "I never thought I could have this," he told me one night as we lay in bed, my head on his chest. "A normal life, someone to share it with. I thought I was too far gone, too stained by what I'd done." "We all have pasts," I said softly. "The question is, do we let them define us, or do we choose who we become?" "When did you get so wise?" "I had a good teacher." He kissed the top of my head. "I love you, Isabel. Isabel. Whoever you want to be. I love all of you." It was the first time he'd said it. The words settled into my chest, warm and bright. "I love you too," I whispered, "more than I ever thought possible." We made love then, slow and tender, a reaffirmation of everything we'd built together. And as I fell asleep in his arms, I felt something I'd never felt before. Truly, completely safe. But safety, I would learn, was always temporary. The first hint of trouble came 6 months into our new life. Damien came home late one evening, his expression dark. I knew that look. Had learned to read his moods, his silences. "What's wrong?" I asked, setting aside the case file I'd been reviewing for Hope House. He loosened his tie, pouring himself a drink. "Someone from my old life has been asking questions, trying to find out where I went, what I'm doing." My stomach clenched. "Who?" "Marcus Vane." The name came out like a curse. My former partner. I'd heard the name before, in fragments of stories Damien had shared. Marcus Vane was the man Damien had worked with, and eventually betrayed, in London. The man whose territory Damien had taken, whose empire he'd dismantled. Why now? I asked. It's been months. Because he's finally pieced together what happened, that I didn't just disappear. I ran. And he wants to know why. Damien's jaw tightened. He's dangerous, Isabel. More dangerous than William ever was. Then we run again. Change names. Move. No. His voice was firm. I'm done running. I ran from him once before. And look where it got us. Constantly looking over our shoulders. It's time to end this. Fear clutched at my heart. What are you going to do? What I should have done years ago. Face him. Settle our debts once and for all. Damien, you can't. If he's as dangerous as you say. He crossed to me, taking my face in his hands. I won't let him hurt you. I won't let anyone hurt you ever again. But I need to handle this, Isabel. It's the only way we'll ever truly be free. I wanted to argue, to beg him not to go, but I saw the determination in his eyes, the resolve. This was something he had to do. Promise me you'll be careful, I whispered. I promise. He kissed me, long and deep. And when this is over, we'll really be free. No more running, no more hiding. Just us and our life together. I held on to those words as he left that night. Held on to them as hours passed with no word. Held on to them as dawn broke and he still wasn't home. By noon, I was frantic. I'd called his phone dozens of times, left messages, sent texts. Nothing. Then the call came from an unknown number. Isabel Blackwood. A voice I didn't recognize said. Or should I say, Isabel Green? Such creative aliases. My blood turned to ice. Who is this? A friend of your husband's. Well, both your husbands, actually. It's remarkable how many men seem to think they can keep you locked away. The voice was smooth, cultured, with an edge of cruelty that reminded me sickeningly of William. My name is Marcus Vane, and I have something that belongs to you. If you've hurt him. Hurt him? Oh, my dear, I've barely started. But here's how this is going to work. You're going to come to the address I'm about to text you. Alone. No police, no tricks. And if you're very good, I might let you both walk out alive. Why should I believe you? Because, unlike Damien, I'm a man of my word. He paused. You have 2 hours. I suggest you don't waste them. The line went dead. The text came through moments later. An address in a warehouse district on the outskirts of the city. Every instinct screamed at me to call the police, to get help. But I thought of Damien, of what he might be enduring. Thought of how he'd saved me from William, how he'd given up everything for a chance at a life together. I couldn't abandon him now. So I grabbed my car keys and drove toward danger, toward the man who held my future in his hands. The warehouse loomed ahead, all rusted metal and broken windows. I parked outside, my hands shaking on the steering wheel. This was insane. I should turn around, call the authorities, let them handle this. But then I thought of Damien's voice promising to come home, thought of all the times he'd protected me, saved me. It was my turn to save him. I stepped out of the car and approached the warehouse entrance. It opened before I could knock, revealing a man I recognized from the photos Damien had shown me, Marcus Vane. He was handsome in a cruel way, with sharp features and eyes that reminded me of a predator. His suit was immaculate, at odds with the decrepit surroundings. Isabel Blackwood, he said, smiling. Or do you prefer Isabel Green? I must say, the blonde hair suits you better than the brunette. More tragic heroine, less ice queen. Where is he? I demanded, so impatient. Marcus stepped aside, gesturing for me to enter. This way, please. Followed him through the warehouse, past rusted machinery and stacked crates, my heart pounding. We emerged into a large open space and my breath caught. Damien was chained to a support beam, his face bruised and bloody. His eyes widened when he saw me. Isabel, no, you shouldn't have come. Shut up, Damien. Marcus's voice was casual, but the gun in his hand was not. Your little bird has flown into the cage all on her own. Isn't it romantic? I rushed toward Damien, but Marcus grabbed my arm, yanking me back. Not so fast, darling. We have business to discuss first. Let him go, I said, hating how my voice shook. This is between you and him. I have nothing to do with it. Oh, but you have everything to do with it. Marcus circled us like a shark. You see, Damien took something from me years ago. My territory, my reputation, my power. And I've been waiting for the perfect opportunity to take something equally precious from him. Understanding dawned, cold and horrible. Me. You want to use me against him. Smart girl. Marcus smiled. Here's how this works. Damien is going to come back to London with me and work off his debt. Every last penny. And you, my dear, are going to stay in a very comfortable room I've prepared, as insurance against his good behavior. You mean you're going to hold me hostage? I said flatly. Such an ugly word. I prefer guest. Isabel, don't listen to him. Damien strained against the chains. He's going to kill us both anyway. Marcus moved faster than I could track, pistol whipping Damien across the face. Damien's head snapped to the side, blood spraying from a split lip. Stop it, I screamed. Then cooperate. Marcus turned back to me, all false charm. Be a good girl and neither of you has to die today. Fight me, and I'll make you watch while I take Damien apart piece by piece. Your choice. I looked at Damien, at the desperation in his eyes, and made my decision. Okay, I said quietly. I'll cooperate. Just don't hurt him anymore. Relief and anguish warred on Damien's face. No, Isabel, you can't. I'm sorry, I whispered, though I didn't know if I was apologizing to him or to myself. Marcus smiled, victorious. Excellent. Bring her. Two men I hadn't noticed before emerged from the shadows, grabbing my arms. I didn't fight as they led me toward a door at the back of the warehouse, but as we passed Damien, I caught his eye. And in that moment, something passed between us. Understanding. Trust. A plan. Because if there was one thing Damien had taught me, it was that the only way to escape a cage was to make them think you were tame. Then you show your teeth. They locked me in what Marcus had grandly called comfortable quarters. A concrete cell with a cot, a bucket, and no windows. It was cleaner than I'd expected, which somehow made it worse. This wasn't improvised. This was planned. Marcus had been hunting us from the beginning. I sat on the cot, forcing myself to breathe, to think. Panic wouldn't help. Fear wouldn't save us. I needed to be smart, strategic. The door opened hours later and Marcus entered carrying a tray of food. I'm not hungry, I said. Suit yourself. He set the tray down anyway. But starving yourself won't help Damien. He's going to need you strong when he returns. When he returns from what? Oh, didn't I mention? I've already put him to work. Nothing too strenuous. Just a simple collection job in the Bronx. Should only take a few hours. Marcus smiled. Unless something goes wrong, of course. These things can be so unpredictable. My stomach churned. He was sending Damien into danger, using me as leverage to ensure compliance. Why are you doing this? I asked. What did Damien do that's worth all this? Marcus's expression darkened. He betrayed me. We were partners, brothers in arms, and he stabbed me in the back the moment it benefited him. Took my territory, my contacts, my reputation. Left me with nothing. So this is about revenge. This is about justice. He leaned against the wall, studying me. You know, I almost admire him. It takes a special kind of ruthlessness to destroy someone who trusted you, but it also requires payment. And if he pays, if he does everything you ask, will you let us go? Marcus laughed, and the sound made my skin crawl. Sweet, naive Isabel. You really think I'd let him live after what he did? No. This is just prolonging the inevitable, making him suffer before the end. Then you're going to kill us both anyway. Oh, I'll keep alive. At least for a while. His eyes crawled over me. William Blackwood sent his regards, by the way. He's very interested in reacquiring his runaway wife. Horror washed over me. You're working with William? Enemy of my enemy and all that. He wants you back. I want Damien to suffer. Seems like a fair trade, don't you think? I'll die before I go back to him. That can also be arranged? Marcus pushed off the wall. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. For now, you wait. You hope. You pray that Damien survives his little errand, and when he returns, broken and defeated, you'll do exactly what I say, or I'll deliver you to William gift-wrapped. He left, locking the door behind him. I sat in the darkness, my mind racing. There had to be a way out. Damien wouldn't have given up, wouldn't have accepted this fate without a plan. I just needed to figure out what it was. Hours passed. I dozed fitfully, jerking awake at every sound. Finally, the door opened again. It was Damien. He looked worse than before, new bruises blooming on his face, his shirt torn and bloody. But he was alive. You're okay, I breathed, rushing to him. He caught me in his arms, holding me tight. I'm fine. Are you hurt? Did he? No. He just talked. I pulled back to look at him. Damien, he's working with William. He plans to. I know. His voice was grim. I know what he plans. But so do I. I searched his face. You have a plan. Not a good one, but it's all we've got. He glanced toward the door, then lowered his voice. Marcus thinks he's broken me, thinks I'll do anything to keep you safe. And he's right. I would. But he made one mistake. What's that? He underestimated you. Damien's eyes met mine, fierce and proud. You're not the terrified woman who ran from William anymore. You're stronger now. Braver. And I need you to be brave one more time. What do you need me to do? He told me his plan, and with each word I felt fear and determination war inside me. It was risky, possibly suicidal, but it was our only chance. Can you do it? He asked when he'd finished. I thought of everything we'd been through, everything we'd built together. Thought of the life waiting for us if we could just survive this. Yes, I said. I can do it. He kissed me then, hard and desperate. If something goes wrong, if it all falls apart, you run. You leave me behind and you run. Promise me. Damien. Promise me, Isabel, please. I couldn't make that promise. Wouldn't. But I nodded anyway, letting him believe the lie. Because if we were going down, we were going down together. The next morning, Marcus came for me personally. Rise and shine, darling. We're taking a trip. I blinked up at him, feigning grogginess. Where? To see an old friend of yours. William is very eager to be reunited with his wife. My blood ran cold, but I forced myself to remain calm. This was part of the plan. Had to be. They led me out of the cell, through the warehouse. I didn't see Damien anywhere, but I felt his presence. Knew he was watching, waiting for his moment. 3 of Marcus's men surrounded me, guns visible. Outside, a black SUV waited, engine running. This was it. The moment. As they opened the vehicle door to shove me inside, I made my move. I'd been practicing the motion all night, perfecting it. I dropped my weight suddenly, surprising the man gripping my arm. He stumbled, and I twisted, driving my elbow into his throat. He went down choking, and I grabbed for his gun. But Marcus was faster. His hand clamped around my wrist, twisting until I gasped in pain and dropped the weapon. Very spirited, he said, spinning me around. But ultimately, the gunshot cut him off. One of his men dropped, a red bloom spreading across his chest. Then another shot, another man down. Marcus dove for cover, dragging me with him. I fought against his grip, scratching and biting, anything to break free. Then Damien was there, appearing from behind a stack of crates like an avenging angel. His fist connected with Marcus's jaw, and suddenly, I was free. "Run!" Damien shouted. But I didn't run. Instead, I grabbed the gun the first man had dropped and aimed it at Marcus, who was struggling to his feet. "Don't move," I ordered, surprised by how steady my voice was. Marcus froze, his eyes darting between Damien and me. "You won't shoot me. You're not a killer, Isabel." "You're right," I said. "I'm not. But I am someone who's very tired of men trying to cage me." I pulled the trigger. The shot went wide, intentionally, but close enough to make Marcus flinch. In that moment of distraction, Damien was on him, and the two men went down in a tangle of fists and fury. I wanted to look away, but I forced myself to watch. This was the reality of the man I loved, not just the gentle person who made me tea and held me through nightmares, but the dangerous one who'd built an empire on violence. Both were Damien. Both were real. The fight was brutal, savage. Marcus was good, but Damien was better. Years of surviving in the underworld had honed him into something lethal, and with me to protect, he was unstoppable. Finally, it was over. Marcus lay on the ground, bloodied and beaten, Damien's knee on his chest and a gun to his head. "Please," Marcus gasped, "we can make a deal." "The only deal is this," Damien said, his voice cold as death. "You leave us alone. Forever. You tell William Blackwood that Isabel is dead. Car accident, whatever story you want. And you never, ever try to find us again. And if I don't? Then I pull this trigger and end the blood feud right here." Damien pressed the gun harder. "Your choice, Marcus. Live and let us go, or die here in this filthy warehouse." Marcus's eyes darted to me, calculating. I could see him weighing his options, considering the angles. "Fine," he finally spat. "Fine. You're dead to me, both of you. Gone. I'll tell Blackwood his wife is in a grave somewhere, but if I ever see your face again, Grayson..." "You won't." Damien stood, keeping the gun trained on Marcus. "Because we're ghosts now, and ghosts don't come back." He grabbed my hand, and we ran. We didn't stop running until we reached the safe house Damien had prepared, a small apartment in Queens under yet another false name. Only when the door was locked and bolted did we allow ourselves to breathe. "Are you hurt?" Damien asked, checking me over with frantic hands. "I'm fine. Are you?" "I'm fine." He pulled me into his arms, holding me so tight I could barely breathe. "God, Isabel, when I saw you with that gun, when you aimed it at Marcus, I thought..." "I know." I held him just as tightly. "I know." We stood like that for a long time, just holding each other, processing what we'd survived. "What now?" I finally asked. "Now we disappear. For real this time." Damien pulled back to look at me. "New names, new city, new everything. I have documents ready, money stashed. We can go anywhere. West Coast, maybe, or overseas. Europe, Asia, anywhere you want. As long as it's with you, I don't care where." He cupped my face, his thumbs brushing over my cheekbones. "I love you. I know I don't say it enough, but I do. You're the bravest, strongest person I've ever met. I learned from the best." We made love that night with an intensity, born of survival, of knowing how close we'd come to losing everything. And as I fell asleep in Damien's arms, I felt something settle in my chest. Peace. Finally. Truly. Peace. Epilogue. 6 months later. The California sun was warm on my face as I sat on our small balcony, watching the ocean waves crash against the shore. We'd settled in a beach town an hour south of San Francisco. Quiet, anonymous, perfect. Damien emerged from inside, carrying 2 cups of coffee. He set one in front of me and kissed the top of my head. "How are you feeling this morning?" I placed a hand over my still flat stomach, feeling the secret growing there. Good. Nervous. Excited. We'd found out 2 weeks ago. A baby, due in 7 months. A new life created from the ashes of our old ones. "We're going to be parents," Damien said, wonder in his voice. He said it every day, like he couldn't quite believe it. "Good parents," I added. "The kind who protect but don't cage, who love without controlling. The kind we never had but always deserved." I reached for his hand, threading our fingers together. "Do you ever regret it? Leaving everything behind?" "Never." The answer came without hesitation. "Everything I need is right here." In the distance, a sailboat skimmed across the water, free and unbound. I watched it go, a smile curving my lips. "What are you thinking about?" Damien asked. "Caged birds," I said. "And how sometimes the only way to fly is to break out of the cage yourself." "And did we? Fly?" I looked at him. This dangerous, beautiful man who'd saved me and let me save him in return. Who'd given up an empire for a chance at something real. "Yes," I said. "We're flying." And hand in hand, with the sun warming our faces and the future stretching out before us, we finally believed it. We were free.